gotta focus on yourself, on your faith, on your dreams, on your mind, on your health, yeah. You gotta work, never tell, keep your head down, find what you love and excel, yeah. Push and pull.
This is the Oppo Find N6, and just to be clear, we bought this ourselves. It's not a review unit. Let's get it out of the box. So why did I decide to pick this phone up? Well, I kept seeing ads everywhere claiming that this foldable has almost no crease, and I just had to find out if that was actually true or just marketing hype. All right, here we go. Time to unbox it. Wow. A quick shout out to my tech partner from China for sharing this video. A big thank you for making this possible. Hey everyone, it's Maiky from techmaiky. If you love staying updated with the latest gadgets, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting tech content. Seriously, let me show you this. When you hold it up against the light, the crease is extremely subtle. Normally, foldable screens show a pretty visible line under lighting, but here it's surprisingly shallow. Now, is it completely like a flat glass display? No, that's just not physically possible with current technology. But I can honestly say this is the least noticeable crease I've ever seen on a foldable. Let's check out what else comes in the box. First, the charger. Good old 80-watt fast charging, nothing new, but still reliable. Then there's the case. It actually reminds me of Xiaomi's Dragon Scale fiber style. One thing to note though, this case doesn't include magnets, which means it won't support Oppo's latest wireless charging system at full speed. To get full wireless charging performance, you need Oppo's official magnetic case. There's a Hall sensor built into the back of the phone that detects whether you're using the original case and only then unlocks maximum wireless charging speeds. Now, about this included case. Take a look at the edges. It uses adhesive strips because the case itself is extremely thin and the carbon fiber build feels premium. Let's power it on. All right, first thing, language support. Wow. This foldable comes with 26 built-in languages. That's seriously impressive, especially compared to Xiaomi, which only offers around 5. Big win for Oppo here. Next, let's move into setup and transfer some data. My previous phone was the Oppo Find X9 standard version, which I've been using for a long time. Let's see how fast the data transfer is. Right now, it's holding steady at around 160 to 170 megabytes per second. That's insanely fast. Xiaomi just crossed 100 megabytes per second, and Oppo is already pushing close to 170 megabytes per second. We transferred a total of 97 gigabytes in just 11 minutes. That's seriously impressive speed. Now let's set up the fingerprint sensor. This one's a side-mounted sensor, which works fine, but honestly, an in-display ultrasonic fingerprint scanner would have been better, right? Especially having one on both the inner and outer screens. That would have been ideal, though definitely more expensive. From what I remember, only Vivo has tried something like that before. We're now on the home screen. Let's quickly check the pre-installed apps. There are about 10 of them, and yeah, we're deleting all of them. Moving into the settings, the first thing I'm doing is switching the refresh rate to 120 Hz. Now it's running at full speed. Let's talk about animations. I haven't used a foldable in a while, so this is interesting. Oppo's animations have always been top tier, and that continues here. Everything feels incredibly smooth. Open multiple apps, switch between them, the background transitions are fluid with no stutter at all. ColorOS really nails the animation experience. Honestly, after trying devices from Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, and even VR setups this year, I can confidently say ColorOS feels the most stable. Fewer bugs, smoother animations, and minimal lag. It checks all the boxes for me. The features are also well thought out, including support for things like Lingdong Island. Some brands still haven't optimized for newer features properly. Let's test app optimization. I'll open Bilibili and play a video. Looks like Parallel World isn't enabled by default. You have to turn it on manually, so keep that in mind. Once enabled, you can see how it works. Open a video and it launches in Parallel World mode. You can switch between instances easily, and if you close the floating window, it exits that mode. Coming from Samsung, I have to say this is way better. Samsung's floating window system can be buggy, but here everything feels polished. You can resize windows, switch modes, and multitask smoothly without weird glitches. For example, I can open Weibo in a floating window and use another app at the same time. Super convenient. No matter how you drag or resize, everything stays stable. Every transition feels smooth and the animation tuning is just spot on. Now that we've covered the software experience, let's talk about the hardware variant we picked. This is the 16GB RAM and 512GB storage model. Storage prices have gone up a lot this year, so the pricing is as follows. The 12GB plus 256GB version is priced at $99.99, the 16GB plus 512GB at $1,999, and the top-end 16GB plus 1TB version at $12,000. Even with that, thanks to Oppo's features, the 16GB plus 512GB variant still offers decent value for money right now. This time, the processor does seem slightly toned down in performance. I'm not here to defend Oppo blindly. I do have my own thoughts on this. Feel free to share your opinions as well, and if you think I'm wrong, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's be real. People who go for a foldable like the Oppo Find N6 aren't buying it to grind heavy games like Genshin Impact or Honkai Impact 3rd. These are super demanding titles. And honestly, no one is picking up a thin, lightweight foldable just for hardcore gaming. This phone is clearly designed with portability in mind. Because it focuses on being slim and light, heat dissipation naturally takes a hit. So even if you throw in something like a Snapdragon 8 Elite or even a future Gen 5 version, it's still not going to perform like a traditional thick flagship phone, definitely not anywhere near devices with built-in cooling fans. In fact, whether the chip has one more core or one less, you probably won't notice any real difference in day-to-day performance. And if gaming is your top priority, something like the Honor Magic V6 would be a more suitable option. At this price range, aside from one brand that still struggles with user experience, most foldables are actually pretty well optimized. Now let's talk about the hinge. This is interesting. It can hold its position at almost any angle you set. Seriously, you can stop it anywhere, and it just stays there. Moving on to the cameras. Both the telephoto and ultra-wide lenses use HP5 sensors, and the main camera is also based on the HP5, which is a 200 megapixel sensor. But let's be honest, on a device this thin, you can't expect flagship-level camera performance like you'd get from a bulky, traditional phone. Still, it's worth testing. One thing I was curious about was the front camera. Does it support autofocus? Checking the inner display first, no autofocus there. Now, the outer display, same story, no autofocus. So both front cameras lack autofocus, just like what we saw on the Oppo Find X9's standard version. Now for the rear cameras. The ultra-wide lens supports autofocus and even macro shots. The main camera performs as expected. But what about the telephoto? Does it support macro? Let's test it. Bringing in a power bank, and yeah, it actually focuses quite close. The minimum focusing distance is around 10 to 11 centimeters, definitely under 15 centimeters. That qualifies as macro in my book. Generally, if a phone can focus within 10 centimeters, it's considered true macro. Between 10 and 20 centimeters is just close focusing, and beyond 20 centimeters means no macro at all. So this is actually impressive. The telephoto macro here is even better than what we saw on the Find X9, which is surprising. It locks focus properly too, with a 70mm focal length at f2.7, no issues there. Overall, the camera usability is actually better than the Find X9, which is a nice improvement. Let's jump into video recording. We're shooting at 4K 60fps with HDR turned off. Start recording. Now let's test zoom. You can switch to 0.6x using the physical lens without any problem. The zoom transition is very smooth, although there's a tiny bit of shake, probably because the lens movement is quite large and not perfectly stabilized. Even so, the zoom experience feels fluid. It's not quite at the level of Apple, where zoom transitions are almost seamless, but compared to most domestic brands, it's definitely above average. Now about the vibration motor. This time, the Find N6 uses a 06117 motor, which is technically a larger motor and similar to what Huawei uses in its foldables. However, it doesn't feel as sharp or crisp as the motor in the Oppo Find X8 Ultra. Whether the phone is folded or unfolded, the vibration remains the same. The peak intensity isn't very strong, but the overall feedback is still decent. It's clearly better than the 0809 motor, but if you compare it to higher-end ones like 0815 or 0916, it doesn't quite match up. Still, within the foldable category, it's actually quite solid. Finally, let's check the speakers. Setup is fairly standard this time, but there's a nice advantage. Both the top and bottom have dedicated speaker openings. The bottom speaker is where you'd expect it, and the top one also has a proper outlet, which helps with sound balance. Listening to it, the audio experience is pretty good overall. So here's the bottom line. If you manage to grab the Find N6 at a good deal like I did, it's definitely worth considering, especially right now when storage prices are going up everywhere. But at its original retail price, yeah, it does feel a bit expensive. We'll be doing a more detailed review of this phone very soon, so if you're interested, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next one. Bye.